Hey, it's Money Mindset Coach, and my name is Valerie, and I am doing my videos to kind of share my views on being frugal, budgeting, money, minimalism, all that stuff, and maybe other things thrown in too, just because it sounds like something I want to talk about. I started watching YouTube after I got rid of Dish Network. I just could not believe the wonderful videos that I was seeing. I gravitated towards the frugal ones, the minimalism, all that. And I really truly believe that we are all kind of like a family for the people, the ones of us that really love all that stuff. They love organizing, the minimalism, frugality, budgeting, finances. We're kind of like, I feel like we're kind of like a community, and we can all help each other. I love it when one YouTuber will collaborate with another one. I hope someday somebody wants to collaborate with me. That would be really fun. But I think that we all have valuable things to say. We all have valuable tips. We all have different experiences of what we have done. And today, I'm doing a no clothes challenge for the whole year 2024. So every video that you see me in, I will be wearing something different. Right now, I'm kind of color coding, I guess. I'm doing my black and white right now. So, and then I'll be able to look back at my videos and I'll be able to remember, oh yeah, that's when I first started doing my YouTube videos, was when I was wearing my black or I was wearing my white. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now. But anyway, what I am wearing is, this is one of my favorites, is Anne Klein. Oh my goodness. The gold buttons, I just love them. The thing I like about this, I like the neckline, because I'm a woman in her 60s. I tend to like long sleeves or three-quarter. Elbows have never been very attractive, but they definitely are not attractive when you're 66. So I tend to keep them covered, just like my knees. So anyway, but anyway, I got this from my favorite thrift store, Savers. You may have them in your town. They're wonderful. And if you're 55 and over and it's Tuesday, you get 30% off of everything. So I guess I'm kind of doing commercials for Savers, but I'm basically doing kind of a plug for thrift stores because they're wonderful. And it's good for the environment too, because it's like if everybody bought everything new, I have to say, when I was growing up, my mother, I don't know, I guess you would look back now and you'd think she was a little bit of a snob, but she wouldn't go to a garage sale. She wouldn't go to a rummage sale or any of the names they have for those kind of things. My mother would have never been caught dead in one of those places. Because to her, and it was pretty much the impression that I had growing up, is if you have money to buy new, why are you going to buy used? It's like that was a very strange concept. Back then in the 60s, when I was growing up, that was what you did. If you didn't have a lot of money, you went to, it wasn't a chic thing. It wasn't the in thing like it is now. Thrift stores were the same thing. You know, if you went to Goodwill, well, you probably didn't have money to walk into an actual store and buy it brand new. And it was kind of like, oh, you can't do that. My mom wouldn't even use a coupon to go into the store. She's like, well, I have enough money to buy it, regular price. That was just how they didn't actually grow up that way. My parents, my grandparents, got married in the 20s and lived through the Depression. My parents, for the first 10, 11 years of their lives, it was the Depression. They didn't know anything else. This ring right here, I don't know if you can see it, but it is an absolutely beautiful ring. It was my grandmother's engagement ring. And my mother got it when my grandmother died. And then I got it when my mom died, when she passed away. And I have loved this ring my whole life. And now I have it. And, you know, it's the most precious piece of jewelry that I have, very much. But when my grandfather bought this back in 1924, probably 100 years ago, it was a very, very nice ring. The thing is I never knew that man. I only knew the man who had been through the Depression. And he was changed forever. He was never the same after going through that. And who would be, you know? So basically, my mom and dad grew up with their parents keeping everything. Everything was old. They didn't replace anything, they fixed it. Well, my mom and dad got married in 1950 and they wanted everything new. They had new furniture, they had new cars, they had all that. My grandfather had a car and they lived in Chicago, so there were buses, and but he would walk or use the bus. The only time he used his car was to go to church. That was it. That was the only thing that car came out of the garage for. And so, society has changed so much. It's not the same anymore. But I guess where I was going with that is I wanted to talk a little bit about how I got out of debt. I was married for 30 years. And if you've seen an earlier video, you'll know that I was a saver. My husband was a spender. We are now divorced. We were married for 30 years. And I have to say that was one of the hardest things I've ever been through. I've come out stronger on the other side because of it. But in the midst of all that, I ended up with the house. I would have wanted to end up with the house anyway, but I had been a real estate agent. Actually, I was a real estate agent when that whole thing happened, and I ended up with the house. So I knew what to do to that house. I knew how to sell a house. I knew how to stage a house. I knew how to do all of that. So my real estate agent that I went with, she actually wanted me to put my house on the market for $10,000 more than what I put it on the market for. And I knew that I could have done that, but I didn't want it to sit. I wanted it to sell. But what I did in 2018, I got divorced in 2016. 2018, I took that whole year as that house being my project. And I love projects. I love projects. It's just so much fun to me. But anyway, I was working for a builder at the time because I've done existing. I sold existing, but I've worked for a lot of builders too. I was working for a builder at the time, and they had a color that they used in all of their displays at that point called Universal Khaki. It's a Sherwin-Williams color. And oh my gosh, everybody that would come into the house, anybody that would come into the display homes would say, "What color is this? This is awesome." And so I knew it was a good color. So basically what I did is I painted my whole entire house. Living room, dining room, bedrooms, hallway, everything. That color. And I really thought by the time I got to the last room that I would be so sick of that color. But I wasn't. I loved it even more. And now in this house, I painted some of the walls. Actually, the wall right over there is that color. I used it in this house. I still wasn't sick of it. So it's a really good color. And you can get it at Lowe's. You can get it, You can get it anywhere and just say, hey, it's Sherwin-Williams Universal Khaki. If they don't have Sherwin-Williams, they can make it up. They can mix it up in whatever they have. So you can get that color no matter where you go. But anyway, the other thing that I did was I finished any project that had been started but hadn't been finished. I found an absolutely wonderful, wonderful handyman. He didn't do things quickly, and that was okay. It cost me a little more money because, he didn't work super fast. But do you want somebody who's going to rush through something? You want it done right. And he would go buy the materials, and then he would do it. I swear I would come home from work and that guy would be whistling while he was working. He loved what he did, and he's still doing it now. I live too far away, otherwise he would come out here and do some work for me because he's so good. I called him Handy Randy. So if Randy, if you're watching this, I'm talking about you and you know it. But he that house, by the time he got done with it in that year's time, that house was everything that I had ever wanted it to be. It was the house. It was a tri-level. And when I was growing up, I kind of thought two stories and ranch houses, especially ranches back in the 60s, they were boring. You come in, living room, dining room, you go down a hall, there's bedrooms, there's bathrooms. It's kind of boring. It was really kind of a boring floor plan. And two stories were kind of the same way. But when they came out with tri-levels and bi-levels, I thought they were very interesting. And I always loved houses. I loved houses. When my mom and dad were moving to Ohio, and I was 15, no, I was 15, 16 years old. When they went to go look at houses, I was the kid that they took with them. Because at the end of the day, after you've seen how many houses, my mom, it would just be a blur to her. She wouldn't remember one house from the other. And I would be the one to say, no, that was the one with the family room with the fireplace. And remember the floor plan? I could remember floor plans. I could remember what the outside, I just had, and my mom even said to me, she said, I think you'd be pretty good at real estate. And I ended up doing that. That's a whole nother story of how I got into it. But yeah, I mean, even from the very earliest age, I have always loved houses. So anyway, I bought this tri-level because I was always trying to get my mom and dad to buy a tri-level, but they never would. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to buy one when I grow up. And we ended up buying this tri-level. And I can honestly say I've had a tri-level. I really liked living in them, even though every level was at a different temperature. It's kind of the way it was. But I loved the looks of them. I thought they were very interesting. And so, yeah, I loved it. But anyway, what I did during that time, during that year, is I cash flowed. I probably spent $10,000 during that time, but I cash flowed it and took my time getting it done. And the house was everything I ever wanted it to be by the time that I sold it. So January 2019, I put it on the market and it sold in 4 days. And January isn't the easiest time to sell real estate, but I lived near an Air Force base, and a lot of the military would get their orders, so they knew that they were moving where they were moving. And so it was a military couple that bought my house, so that did help also. But I had it priced right. I had recarpeted, repainted, replaced almost every floor in the house. Every floor. Painted every wall. I even replaced some windows, and so anyway, the house looked fantastic. And it sold in 4 days. Now the couple to put the offer in. Usually it's customary to give 24 hours for a response. I knew this because I was a real estate agent. They gave me 6 hours to respond. It was a full price offer. That was good. And that was back before people were doing way over asking they were going to do that. I knew that a full price offer was very good. 6 hours to respond, not so great, but hey, 4 days on the market, not dealing with open houses, not dealing with a lot of people coming traipsing through the house. I took it. I took it. And I sold my house. I had lived there for 11 years, and I came away at closing after fees and that kind of thing. I came away with $47,000. I had never had $47,000 in my possession in my life. I had never had that much money. And I was like, wow, what am I going to do? Well, 2012, before the divorce, when we were married 25 years, my husband at the time gave me an Apple laptop, MacBook, or whatever, because he was a computer programmer. He still is. And he wanted me to have something to remember him by, because he had a health scare probably 4 years before that, and he could have died. So in his head, he was thinking, hey, you know what? I know you're going to live longer than me. I want you to have something to remember me by. And him being a computer programmer, he gives me this laptop. But then I thought about it, and I thought, okay, how did you pay for it? Well, it was $1,000, and it was on a credit card. That didn't make me happy. I mean, I understood the sentiment behind it, but I'm sitting in the living room at night. Everybody else has gone to bed. I tended to stay up late. And I sat there on this laptop, and I said, I put in the search bar, how to get out of debt. And at the very top of the Google search was Dave Ramsey. And so the next day, because I am always this kind of person, if I'm going through something, if I need to know something, now I didn't go to the library. I should have gone to the library. That would have been the frugal thing to do. But I would go to Barnes and Noble, and I would find the book that I needed on the subject that I wanted to learn about. So I went to Barnes and Noble the next day, and I got Total Money Makeover. Fantastic book. If you're in debt, it'll probably scare the heck out of you. It scared me. I read that book, and when he got home, I was like, this book scared the heck out of me, and we got to do something. Well, our church ended up having a Financial Peace University class right after that. I don't even know how that came about, but we went. And I'd been trying to get him on board with a lot of other financial things, and I tried them all, but he never took to any of them. But he did to Dave Ramsey. He liked Dave Ramsey so much that he actually was in the interview process to work for him, because he needed computer programmers. And that's how much he was really into it. So anyway, we started paying off the debt. And then my mom got sick, and moving from Illinois to Tennessee to work for Dave Ramsey, it wouldn't have been something that, so he dropped it. He was like, I said, I can't be that far away from my mom. I'm already 3 hours away from her. So she passed away relatively quickly. But then that never happened. He stayed where he was and everything. And then there were some things that happened that are kind of personal that I may get into one of these videos, but not now. So anyway, fast forward to having gotten a divorce in 2016, doing this project to get this house ready, and now having $47,000. What I did was I paid off I paid off all of my debt. I didn't owe for my house. I didn't owe for a car. I didn't owe for anything. And then I stayed for 3 months with my boyfriend while I was looking for another house. And so during that time, his brother is a real estate agent, so he helped me, which was really nice to. I knew a lot of Illinois real estate agents, but I didn't know any Missouri, but I knew his brother. So anyway, that was wonderful. So anyway, he helped me find this house, and my boyfriend was actually the one who found this house. And I was able to put 20% down, pay off any other debt that I had. So I moved into this house debt free, just, well, owing for the mortgage, but other than that, no consumer debt. And then I did go through, I did a little hiccup though, totally out of debt, just like Dave Ramsey says. And then my son and my daughter in law were going to be getting married back in 2021. Yeah. And he had made a dumb butt purchase of a car. He's a car guy. But he had an ungodly high payment on a car. And he would admit this too, but he had a high interest rate because he did not have a good credit score. So his payment was really high. Well, they're trying to save for a wedding. And so what I did, I went back into debt on a car. I swore I would never do that again. I did. But I paid it off in a year and a half. And that's a whole nother video of what happened with that car. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But so anyway, I paid that off relatively quick, fast as I could. So then I was out of debt again, and I've been out of debt since then. And so all I can say is when you want to get out of debt, number one, have an emergency fund. The emergency fund is very important because if you don't have that, your car is going to break down. It's not if, it's when. And if you don't have any savings, if you don't have an emergency fund, you are not going to be able to pay cash for the repair. If you do, then something else is going to have to go by the wayside. And, you got your four walls. You've got your mortgage or your rent or you have things you have to pay every year, every month. You have money. You need money to live. So anyway, I'm forgetting where I'm going. You have to have an emergency fund. With Dave Ramsey, all he's saying is $1,000. The $1,000 you can do. And basically, that covers a lot of emergencies. There can be a lot of things that can happen that $1,000 will cover. So you're good. A lot of people get a little nervous about that, and Dave Ramsey will even say, you know what, if you feel like 2,000 is better, go with 2,000. Then what you do is you take your debt and you list them smallest to largest. Don't go by the interest rate. Just go smallest to largest. The reason for that is when you do the smallest debt and then you pay that off, you throw everything you can at that, you take that minimum payment and you add it to the next one. And you've gotten a little win. That win is important. It gives you motivation. It makes you feel good. If you were doing the highest interest rate and you owed 5,000, you're going to be paying for a while. Are you going to feel any victory? No, you're not. So you have to do these small ones. And then everyone builds on the other one until you get to that last one and you have a lot of money going toward that debt. So then you're out of debt. This isn't including your mortgage. That's a whole different thing. This is just consumer debt. You get that done. Then you save up 3 to 6 months living expenses, which with the $47,000 that I had with selling my house, I had that. So I had no debt. I put 20% down on a house and I had 3 to 6 months living expenses put aside. Now, that was a quick way to do it. There are harder ways to do it, obviously, but I did it because I sold a house. And I I was sitting there and thinking, I've never been here in my life. I have never had this much money in the bank. I've never had any of this. And it was positively wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling. I have a feeling of peace now that I didn't have for 30 years. I didn't. I I'd go to bed. I think back to how much stress I was under for 30 years. And looking back, being married for 30 years, I know that was like half my life. But I look back and I'm thinking, it doesn't feel like it was half my life. It really doesn't. It feels very strange to me. I can't believe that I was married for 30 years to this person. It feels very strange. But anyway, that is where I am now. And it's a wonderful feeling of peace. That's why in my YouTube logo, I have that bird kind of flying over the money bag and the house, because that's what I feel like I have now. I have peace. I can handle an emergency that comes up. I can handle it. And that is a wonderful, wonderful feeling. So basically, I think I better leave it there. I don't even know how long I've been going here, but uh, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Till next time, bye.